Environmental policy attempts to balance protection and conservation of natural resources with economic growth, energy production, and the competitive interests of industries whose activities generate pollution. The modern federal environmental regulatory framework, interestingly, was largely constructed during a Republican administration, Nixon's. The foundational statutes are the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969, which required environmental impact assessments of major federal actions, the Environmental Protection Agency, established in 1970, the Clean Air Act of 1970, and the Clean Water Act of 1972, which established comprehensive federal regulatory programs for air and water quality, and the Endangered Species Act of 1973, which protected threatened and endangered species and their habitats. Together, these statutes created the foundational architecture of American environmental law that has governed federal regulatory activity for more than 50 years. The most pressing environmental policy challenge of our era is climate change, the long-term alteration of global climate patterns caused by the accumulation of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere from burning fossil fuels, deforestation, and industrial activity. The United States and China are the world's two largest national contributors to greenhouse gas emissions. The international framework is the Paris Agreement, negotiated in 2015 under the Obama administration, committing nearly 200 nations to nationally determine contributions to reducing emissions with the goal of limiting warming to 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. The American relationship to Paris has been politically whipsawed. Trump withdrew the U.S. from the Paris Agreement in his first term, Biden rejoined it on his first day in office, and Trump withdrew again upon returning to the presidency in January 2025, making the United States one of the only major economies outside the agreement. Now, domestically, the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 represented the most significant federal climate legislation ever enacted in the United States. It provided approximately $370 billion in tax credits and subsidies for clean energy deployment, electric vehicle adoption, domestic clean energy manufacturing, and methane emissions reduction. The law was designed to reduce U.S. greenhouse gas emissions by roughly 40% below 2005 levels by 2030. Here's a fascinating early implementation pattern. Clean energy investment was accelerating, particularly in solar, wind, and battery storage manufacturing, and much of it was located in Republican-leaning states whose congressional delegations had voted against the law. The IRA structure as tax credits and subsidies, rather than direct federal investment, made it remarkably durable politically. Businesses in red districts were taking the money and building factories. Trump's second administration has pursued rollback of many IRA provisions through executive action and sought to repeal or modify others through reconciliation, while simultaneously expanding oil and gas leasing on federal lands and offshore areas and weakening EPA air and water quality regulations. As of 2026, the fate of many IRA incentives and the trajectory of U.S. climate policy remain subjects of intense political and legal contestation. The deep question whether climate policy will swing back and forth every 4 years or whether some durable consensus can emerge is unresolved.